Did you vote in the last election?
Yeah.
And why?
I was an employee of a political campaign. It felt weird to knock on doors day in and day out, telling people to vote and then not do it myself.
Yep.
Now that said, I have worked for candidates and then not voted just because of the way things worked out. I don't think necessarily individual votes do matter. I have an understanding that it's better for me to convince 5 people to vote than for me to vote.
Right.
And so, it sounds silly, but I voted because I had the hour of free time to go over to my advanced polling location.
Right.
And I also wanted to ensure that the advanced polling location was following rules.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see for myself that the system was functioning in a way that I found adequate for as much as I can expect.
And did you?
No.
Uh-huh.
I have an eternal struggle with Elections Ontario and Elections Canada on how poorly they train people. Where I have a full understanding that I know more just because I've been involved for so long.
Yeah.
But when I know about which ID I need to show and I know I'm on the list and someone's telling me I'm not on the list or the ID I brought in isn't valid, I get really frustrated.
Yeah.
So no, I had to firmly be like, well, no, I can vote today.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Do you intend to vote in future? And why or why not? Yeah. Same reason.
I think it's a very minimal effort to take. Yeah. And I know I'm going to be doing more than that in future elections. And even if there's a point where I am not directly involved in an election, I think I will always vote just purely for the purpose of telling someone, yes, I will be voting. You don't have to contact me at the very least.
Yeah, right.
Just because I have that understanding at the very least, if I do it, then I can say I've done it, but I don't have I don't have this magical perception of oh, I voted and I did it. But, done democracy today.
Right.
And so because I'm so much more active politically, I do just see it as one day.
Yeah.
You just do one thing you don't usually do.
Right. Okay. What are the 3 most important issues that you think government ought to be dealing with right now? And do you think
climate change, income inequality, and housing?
Housing?
Housing.
That was good. Yeah.
And lack of housing.
Yeah.
So my partner, who you just saw briefly, actually is moved to Hamilton a couple of years after me, and we did long distance for a bit. But Acorn Canada got word that she was moving to Hamilton, and she was well known as a good canvas manager and organizer. So they kind of scooped her up, and I've always thought housing has been a major issue because I have known and have friends who have experienced homelessness.
Yeah.
And then through her work and thinking about the work that I do and really seeing them as two issues along with income inequality, where addressing all 3 at the same time is not only possible, but that's the only way you can address.
Yeah.
You can't address all 3 individually. They have to be a concerted effort together.
Yeah. Do you feel as if the government is dealing with those issues?
No. Or not in any sense that I find adequate.
Okay.
I definitely think there's individuals and efforts that are good, but I don't think it's adequate.
Okay. This question's worded funny because it's meant for both groups. Clearly you have participated in public protests or demonstrations. Would you name some? I know there was a student strike, and talk about what they were like for you.
Yeah, so I think I had attended a few protests and marches and things like that prior to the 2012 strike. So there was a climate march at one point in high school. There was a bunch of different demos in Montreal. The annual protest against police brutality. and the 2012 strike, where it was the largest demo in Quebec history, I perhaps foolishly volunteered to be a safety marshal. So me and a few others, we wore the vests and had mics in our ears and everything, and we were sort of the ones to look out for problems and report them and make sure everyone was safe. And that was both incredibly inspiring, but it was also an absolute nightmare because there was also internal schisms within the student group. Near the end of it, there was a physical confrontation between two students who had very different political opinions about what needs to be done. And so it was at that moment I kind of it was, we're living in Montreal and then seeing how extreme things can get there, because I think in Montreal there is much more of an inclination to be violent by the Montreal police. And then of course G20 happened, and I wasn't at G20, and if I was, I would have been probably thrown in a cage along with some friends. And so my experience of protest from that point forward became one of I became very cautious, and I have developed a bit of paranoia when it comes to protest that I've only just recently started to get over. I still get very nervous around police. Have you
had any direct confrontations with police?
I've managed to thankfully avoid confrontations with the police while participating in protests. But I have been arrested though in high school, and I have had unpleasant interactions with the police in a few different cities.
You don't have to tell me, but reasons for being arrested?
Teenage delinquency. Things like drinking in a park. Nearly caught for spray painting things I shouldn't have been spray painting. Nothing I feel particularly proud to say. I would say.
Things that kids do.
Yes. I would say. I don't have an instance of what my friend would call left-wing martyrdom. I haven't been arrested for my beliefs yet.
Left-wing martyrdom, I like it. If you're interested, I always end up sending the activists I speak to some of my articles, because I've been writing about this stuff for a while. And I have an article you might be interested in on policing activists versus policing homeless young people. And it's, especially given that you've got the political philosophy stuff, it's just talking about the different... I'll send you a copy. Just the different ways that space gets used in relation to different bodies and who gets seen as a citizen. It's all tied together. So I could send you that one.
And related to that, here in Hamilton, the closest I've gone to police interaction was back when Matthew Green was a city councillor. He got carded by a police officer, and the police officer ended up getting away with it because it's apparently a cop stopping in the middle of two lanes of traffic and asking you across those two lanes of active traffic, what are you doing, isn't in a mental arrest. You can just walk away from a cop who stops you on the street anytime you want.
Right.
And so I've been very careful here in Hamilton, and then there's other issues as well, where at our Pride event last year, there was some pretty horrific violence by right-wing Christian fascists, like pretty accurate statement, and Hamilton police famously did not stop what was happening, and used that as an opportunity to arrest the anarchist activists who actually got in the way of the Christian fascists, and the political targeting continues to this day, I would say. So I've been very wary here in Hamilton, just because of also the job I do, to get too involved in that and end up being a target myself.
Fair. Okay, last couple of kind of content questions. Do you feel like you are a political person, and what does that mean to you?
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that means that I have a sick interest in it. I think about politics probably every day, every hour of the day too. Mm-hmm. I would consider it to my detriment. Mm-hmm. Even though it is my job and I do really like it, I very much view everything with a political lens. I very much view things through my political biases, and I recognize that. Mm-hmm. And so I would say I'm a political person in that aspect, but then I would also say I'm a political person in terms of being an activist and being a participant as much as one can be in the process. I would say I'm also a political person by that definition.
Yeah. Okay. And so political for you is more than just formal politics.
Yes.
If you have to kind of describe, when you're saying I'm a political person to someone who might not use that terminology, what would it encompass?
I think it's about viewing society not as a group of individuals, but as a society, as a community, and collective decision-making. Decisions are made that impact the collective, whether it's done by the collective or not. Mm-hmm. And I think there is extreme importance at every level to ensure as many individuals as possible, if they want, have the ability to have equal say and have equal weight within the system, while at the same time not infringing on what are basic rights. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's how I would describe it. If someone, I think of some people wouldn't think of a neighborhood association as being a political entity, but I would. Mm-hmm. I would consider our grocery co-op as a political entity. Yeah. And also, but not our grocery co-op as a political entity. I think there needs to be a recognition that humans as a species are not an individualistic species, and that works to our benefit or not. But I think really being a political person means viewing how things function as being a result of collective decision-making or decision-making that lacked collective input.
Okay. Cool.
But still impacts the collective, the community.
Yeah. Last question. Do you feel, well, you've already answered this, but I'll ask it again. Do you feel as if you contribute to your community, and what does that mean to you?
Well, when you put it that way, I'm inclined to say no. I don't.
Okay.
Because I do regularly struggle with feelings of guilt of not doing enough, and I think I've had instances of contribution, but I wouldn't say. And I mean, maybe no one really fits the description of someone who contributes to the community, but I don't think I am a consistent force of contribution. I think I just get lucky, and I contribute sometimes. Probably more often than not, maybe, because I do try a lot, but I'm wary to say that I contribute to society in that kind of sense, in a consistent sense, because I think it is something you have to it's something you actively do, it's not something you are. Right.
And so the word community in this case, you just use society. Does it feel that big?
I think it could be, when I think of community, I think of, I don't know, actually. I think it's maybe interchangeable, but I also think community is maybe more of a more local sense, more geographic, not necessarily geographic, but more beyond just overall Canadians and Hamiltonians. Like I think like someone in Ottawa or someone in Hamilton. Like someone could say, "Oh, I'm a Hamiltonian," and someone else could say, "I'm a Hamiltonian," and they may one of them is saying, "Oh, I live in Hamilton," and the other one saying, "I live in Hamilton and I participate in life in Hamilton."
Right. Okay, cool. Another article I have that I've sent to a couple of folks, because you mentioned guilt, and guilt's a powerful emotion in activism, and it's actually quite gendered, which is not going to be surprising to you. So I actually have an article about women and guilt and activism and under neoliberalism. Again, if you're interested, I'm always happy to share my work.
I would be very interested in that. I have a keen interest, as you could probably imagine, in conceptions of masculinity and community engagement along with environmentalism.
Okay, great. Yeah.
You know, so there was a study that came out recently where, you know, yet another study where, like, men don't use tote bags because it's seen as effeminate, and caring about the planet is effeminate, and therefore it's bad.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested in concepts like that. I definitely, like when I joined the student politics, it was women who were doing it. Toronto Environmental Alliance, it was mostly women. At my current work, I'm the only male employee at the organization. There's a few men who are involved, but they're all much older, kind of from a time when environmentalism was a little different. And then, of course, like most people I engage with and work with are women as well. So that's something I think a lot about. You'd be interested in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll share that. It's not speaking to environmental movements, but I think it will land differently.
It might have implications, probably.
Yeah.
It's all,
I think so.
It's very similar, you know, the idea of like men being like, "Oh, that's not my problem. Why should I care?" And
well, it's different in the article, you'll see, but anyways, I'll share it. You can read it. I'm happy to hear your thoughts. Okay, those are all my questions. That was faster than it usually is. Are there other things other things I haven't asked that you'd like to talk about, or anything you'd like to elaborate on?
I don't think so. I hope I've been helpful.
Oh, totally. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe I should say, I think I've alluded to it, but I definitely recognize that my personal story and position is unique. And I know everyone has their own unique story, but I think middle-class white guy from Etobicoke who doesn't typically end up doing what I do. Would just like for you that I recognize that I have a conception of myself that recognizes that I don't really know anyone else quite like me in that sense. Like I don't really find that many. Like they do exist, but like I don't find a lot of young men who I can completely relate to in terms of the work I do. It
is interesting, all the dynamics that go into who gets engaged and why not, and that's definitely part of what I'm interested in. Cool. Is there anything I should be asking, do you think, in this project that I've missed?
I think it's very
framing of questions. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, that's it, because we already went over follow-up interviews and receiving stuff. So I think that's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
oh, wait, no, one more. If there's others, sorry, God, this is important. If there are others that would be willing to be part of the research that you know, who you'd be willing to refer?
Yeah, potentially. I would have to check with them first.
Of course.
Myself.
Yeah.
But I would say there are definitely a few people who I think would be very interesting for you to talk to.
Great. Yeah.
Here in Hamilton and elsewhere, but I know, I can think of like top 5 people who are like I find very interesting.
Yep.
And so I think could be beneficial. So. I could ask them and then connect you by email if that works.
Yeah, well, so Shihan, who would have been the one who connected with you, is my amazing research assistant, and he's doing that kind of outreach part. So what I'll do is I'll follow up with you right now with an email. I'll send you those articles. I'll CC Shihan and let him know that you have some potential people. You'll follow up with them, and
great,
he'll probably follow up with you if he doesn't hear from you.
Okay, yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, awesome, great.
Cool.
Thanks so much, Ian. I really appreciate your time. Yeah, and well, follow up with that email, and we may be in touch again.
And I look forward to reading those articles.
Yeah, it's not going to be right away, but the ones that are already written, yes, but the ones that come out of this research, that'll take a bit of time.
Sure.
But yeah.
For sure. Great.
Yeah, great. Okay, thanks a lot. Enjoy your day.
Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, bye.